zone, on the road to the Super Bowl. Every game on the schedule crucial, it take a toll. It don't matter if we at home or on the road. You try to tackle, I'll truck a sucker and take it soul. I'm staring at 4th and goal, gotta find an open hole. A linebacker just close a hole where I'm supposed to go. So now I'm thinking my centers are all pro, so I trust he can make a waffle wherever the ball go. Yeah, there's 5 seconds on the play clock. The crowd was loud, but they stopped. Now it's silent while they watch. They stand off in the red zone. All I see is red home. Watch me get this touchdown and this W and head home.
Hey. 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 Welcome, Cowboys Nation, to Season 2.
Yes.
Game Day Live, presented by Underdog Fantasy. It's your boy, Jesse Holley. It's your boy, Skywalker Steele. We got Bucks, Cowboys, Week 1. Finally.
We
It's here, man.
Yes. What's up, my brother?
I am, man, you already know how I feel about
Yes.
it, man. I'm just so glad to be back talking everything, not just Cowboys, life, whatever it is with you, man. But today, it's the start of what we hope is an improved year from last year for the Cowboys, but it's not going to be easy. But enough about me. How are you? They haven't heard from you on A to Z Dallas since the end. That ending we had in January. But how you been, man? Let me know.
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be back, Season 2, to be working with you, working with A to Z, and it's been a good year, man. Some, all that I have going on, that's still rocking and rolling. But I am so jacked up. I didn't sleep well last night because I was so just antsy to get to this moment today, to be back here to talk Cowboy football with you and to give it to you, the fans. We want to make sure that you are well informed heading into this football game at halftime, and when this game is over, we're going to break this thing down. So I'm so thankful to be here, brother, for Season 2.
Yes,
and we're going to have another. We're taking this thing to the next level.
Yes.
We're going to the next level.
We'll tease the other part of it maybe on the post-game show for next week. But we got a lot to get to. And you talked about making sure they're informed. Let's start off with the inactives. If you want to read off the inactives here, and we can kind of touch on what maybe stood out with that.
Yeah, I'm going to go from back to forward because I think the last one that we have listed first, probably the most important one. But Nashawn Wright is an inactive, Jabril Cox, Marquise Bell, Israel Mukwamu is inactive, John Ridgway, Michael Gallup, of course, he's kind of revved up. But this is the one that kind of sticks out to everyone. Cowboys' third-round wide receiver, Jalen Tolbert, is a healthy scratch today.
Yeah. They kind of teased that over the last couple of days, right?
Yeah.
It was either Jalen Tolbert, Sam Williams. People were getting a little nervous, and they decided to go with Tolbert. Now, we had a brief discussion about this off-air that I want to bring on air. There's a wholeness to this entire thing, meaning there's a one side to it and the other side.
Yes.
The one side is, hey, your third-round pick, wide receiver in a room that you need these receivers, right?
And it's a room that's not a stacked room. It's not like he's a third-round receiver and you got 2 or 3 Pro Bowls in front of him.
Oh, you mean to tell me it's not like he's a third-round receiver and you got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb in front of him? No.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So for him to be a healthy scratch today, that is, to me, a little bit, not even a little bit, it's a lot disappointing. And it's concerning. But
now there's the other side that you made a good point about. Please elaborate.
We are finally in a place now where we're looking around and the Cowboys are saying, we're going to play the best guys. For so long, we've been a part of, hey, well, he was a first rounder. Hey, he was a second rounder. Hey, he was a third rounder. So we're just going to play him.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean, even if the guys behind him, who may be a lesser draft pick or a later draft pick, is better than him, because of his draft status, we're going to play them. And it seems as though in this pick, they're saying, yeah, I know you were a third-round pick, and there's a lot of money and time and energy and effort putting into drafting you at that high, but we like the guy,
Dennis
Houston. We like Simi Fehoko. We like Noah Brown. We like Kavontae Turpin. We like CeeDee. We like a host of other guys. And this may not be every week, but we like those guys for this situation much, much better. And that's a plus because the Cowboys are saying we're going to play the best guys to win football games.
Tony said football is a meritocracy, and that's what this is, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're better, are ready, more ready than the person that was drafted in front of you or whatnot, then you do it. There was a cat in the Lions game. I think he went undrafted or he was a late draft pick. He's a starting linebacker for the Lions, Malcolm Rodriguez, a guy that was on the Cowboys' radar. It doesn't matter. The saying is, once you get in the building, Bill Belichick says it, I don't care where you were drafted.
Yeah.
Once you get in the building, you got to prove it to me and the guys in the locker room and the staff, and Dennis Houston and Simeon, those guys, and Noah. Noah Brown has proved it to these guys that they're the ones up and ready to go. But a player that was brought in as we get through our Cowboys game day catch-up here, that was brought in earlier in the week that's not quite ready, Jesse, to go, is left tackle Jason Peters, who was brought in here on Monday. That boy, I mean, you might have seen him walking around here. He looks like a house. I mean, he looks like a
large
damn
human.
house, man.
It's a large human.
Large, but he's not quite ready yet. So I had a question I wanted to pose to you guys in the chat and to Jesse. Does Tyler Smith's play tonight determine how soon we see a Jason Peters?
Absolutely. 100. He's here for that very reason, because they were unsure what they had at Tyler Smith at the left tackle position. I know that he was drafted and was supposed to be brought in for the future. Well, that future became fast-forwarded when Tyron Smith went out with the injury. But his ramp-up is solely dependent upon how well or not well Tyler Smith plays today at left tackle. And the reason being, it doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with Tyler Smith, the person.
Right.
It has a whole hell of a lot to do with the guy he's supposed to be protecting at that position, and that's the $40 million dude, Dak Prescott. So is there time for Tyler Smith to develop? Yes, there is. But how much time you want to give up before you start getting your head knocked off? And I'm speaking about Dak Prescott at that quarterback position. So if Tyler Smith comes out today and has a fairly good game, you may see him get another opportunity to do it again. But if it's like, if it's one of those things where we're saying, oh my God,
there's holdings,
get this
pressures.
dude out of here ASAP. Oh, all of a sudden, Jason Peters he'll be ready next week. All that ramping up, they'll say, well, you know what? And here's the tagline. The tagline will be his experience. This is a guy who has 18 years of experience. He knows his body. He knows his game. He's ready to go.
There's another small underlining part to this that I don't think we're talking enough about. And when I say I mean me as well. Does Connor McGovern have a lot to say about this too? Because he's the new left guard. By the way, left guard where he was benched. Yeah. He had a shot last year, and a lot of people believe he's better at right guard. I believe your co-host Nate believes that as well. Nate Newton, 6-time Pro Bowler, not Hall of Famer, maybe should be Super Bowl champion. Nate
He's in the HBCU Black Hall of Fame.
HBCU, shout out to Nate. So if he doesn't have a great game as well, or a good game, we don't want to have too many expectations. A good game, I think he could absolutely play a factor in. All right, Tyler, I know you was solid over there, but we need the middle protected, so we're going to bump you down. So I think our eyeball should be set on both of these guys today.
I mean, yes, but your eyeball should be fixated on that entire line.
Well, that's true, too.
I mean, it really does. And even in the Zach Martin situation, because, yes, we agree that Zach Martin is all-world, Mr. Everything, can't do anything wrong, and I am with that. But when you start having lesser pieces around you, it impacts your game just a little bit, because at times when you're making calls and calls are being made and things are supposed to be switched off or handoff and things aren't being done that way, it leaves you in a tough spot. Or what I learned this week from Nate was when that offensive line, they want to keep it to where that offensive line is being in a straight line as much as possible, creating that pocket for the quarterback. But when you get these levels, when one guy gets beat really bad or pushed back really bad, and another guy's up, well, now you create these creases. And so now players, late blitzing linebackers or other players, have more room to work off another defender because that crease has been made instead of there being a shoulder there somewhat to kind of impede his progress to the quarterback. So your eyes should be fixated across this entire offensive line, because to me, a lot of it, we've given Steele, your first cousin, a pass, because it's like, wow, we're so focused on the left-hand side. Terrence Steele, I mean, his first year was really bad. He stepped it up again last year. Lyle Collins is gone, and from the looks of it, the way he got smacked around today by Pittsburgh and T.J. Watt. But
nobody's worried about that.
T.J. Watt does that like everybody. But, he's still on watch. It's not 100%. He's good. The center, the same way with Tyler Biotish. So there's a bunch of people across that offensive line that has a ton of work to do today, and the main purpose is keeping Dak Prescott upright and keeping him clean.
As you're speaking, it just kind of came to my head. This lineup, 4 of the 5 starters are different from week 1 of last year. 4 of the 5. The only one that's the same is the one that was getting manhandled by Vita Vea, and that's Tyler Biotish. Everybody else is different. No more Connor Williams. No Tyron Smith. No, even though Zach Martin is Zach Martin,
right.
But right guard we had McGovern in there, and then that right tackle was Lyle Collins. So this will be interesting. This will be the first time in a while that Vita Vea and Zach Martin will have one up against each other in quite some time, I believe. Maybe the first time ever. I'm not quite sure. Yeah,
might be the first time ever.
So like you said, keep your eyes fixated on that. But to flip it on the other side as we kick off this countdown here for Cowboys versus Bucks, I wanted to start off purposefully because I watched the show this week and you were so giddy about Micah Parsons versus Tom Brady, but Micah Parsons in general. And for me, y'all know, I'm biased. I love Micah Parsons. I think he's fantastic. He could be the president if he was 35, but he's not, so whatever. But to hear you glow about Micah and talk about what he can become in his second year, I said, oh, I love to hear it. But it's worthy of discussion, though.
Yeah, I am all in on Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
This kid, I've had an opportunity to be around this league as a player and covering it, and there are times where you just know dudes got it.
Yeah.
Like, I've been around enough dudes to know, like, oh, nah, he got it. I've seen enough dudes to be like, he got it. Micah Parsons fits that build in every way, shape, or form. And we hear a lot of guys, and from this very team, they were called the hot boys and then turned into the hot noise. And so sometimes you hear players speaking, I'm just like, oh my God, that's just noise. You're just talking to be talking. But when Micah Parsons speak, the hair stands up on my arms and the back of my neck because he says it with so much confidence, and it's believable because he don't just go out there and talk it, but he goes out into the football field and he lives it. In every aspect of his life, he wants to be great. You were out there this year. They had a celebrity home run derby. Micah Parsons goes out there and he's like, wait a second. They don't have the right bats. But hold on, Micah. This is just a celebrity. This is about fun. This is about for the fans. We're raising money.
Hey, ain't y'all hear that?
Micah's like, no. I'm going to Dick's Sporting Goods or Sports, whatever, and I'm buying a $500 bat just so I can be my best in a celebrity all-star game. It's about doing everything good at every moment you get an opportunity to. And so for Micah Parsons, I love to see young players who carry that, I guess, old school mentality of I'm going to dominate you in everything. Chess, checkers, tennis ball shooting in the basket in the locker room. He wants to win. And that I can always get behind because this is the dude who's going to show up and give you everything he got every single time he's on the field.
And he also brought up the fact that he knows to be the best player in the NFL. He didn't say it was necessarily about the skill. It's about making others around him better.
Yeah.
He talked about that with vigor, right? He talked about that with passion. He wants to make everyone else raise their level of play. And I truly do believe he did that last year.
Yeah.
When he didn't know what the hell he was doing.
Right.
He didn't know the defense. He was trying to be in defense end, a linebacker, outside linebacker, green dot, no green dot. He was doing so many different things. He spoke about it, and I let you listen to it earlier when he said, oh, this is year 2. Tom Brady is not getting the Micah Parsons from year 1. My guy Vach said, the film you saw on Micah is not the same guy you'll see this year. And I truly believe that. And I think his level of play will help raise everyone else's level of play. The LVEs, the Anthony Barrs, those in front of him, those behind him. And me personally, Jesse, I think this defense will actually be better than it was last year.
And that's all you wanted. For years, we had a lot of guys in this defense, well, with the exception of 1 or 2 guys who were kind of almost just here to have the uniform.
Yeah.
And it was a locker room full of guys defensively that just was like, hey, I'm not going to really challenge you. You do your thing, I'll do my thing, but I'm not really going. But now when you have a guy like Micah Parsons who shows up every day, who is working, who wants to practice, who wants to play every time, when you don't do that, you stick out like a sore thumb in the grand scheme of what they're wanting to do. So you always, this is in business, this is in sports, I want my best player to be my hardest worker.
Yeah.
Because that's infectious. Guys begin to pick up on that, or they don't begin to pick up on it, and they're easily seen, and you can say, oh, I see what the problem is. It ain't Micah. It ain't Micah going too hard. It ain't Micah, wanting to practice every day. It ain't Micah who wants to study and wants to be an animal and wants to be a beast. It's your lazy butt.
Yep.
It's your non-studying butt. It's your non-practicing butt. It's your non-committed butt. So you're the problem, and now we're going to replace you with other guys who match the standard of our best player.
And speaking of replacements, in today's matchup, I have Micah versus Brady as like one of the biggest matchups, obviously, because there's going to be a chess match to it. I personally think that this matchup has an advantage towards Micah this year. Now, when I say advantage, I mean Micah individually, because I don't think he's going to be dropping back 29 times like he did last year. He dropped back in coverage 29 times. It was his first game. He didn't know what he was doing, and Brady took advantage of it. This year, as we look at some of the skill players of Tom Brady and the guys he doesn't have anymore, the Gronkowskis, the Jansons, the center, the Pro Bowler, the Alex Kappas, who is out, right? And now he has the Julio Jones, who's here, the Russell Gages, and apparently Chris Godwin is supposed to play,
yep.
so that is the guy coming back. But I think they're very, very soft in that middle this year compared to last year. And if it was up to me, I'll ask you, I would use Micah more in the middle of the field, coming at Brady right away than on these edges. But where do you see the advantage and disadvantage this game between this Brady-Micah chess match?
It's the experience.
Yeah.
It's the guy who's coming in the year two who has the potential to be one of the greats, going up against a guy who is literally considered, at least in my generation, and those who are older than me may say different, but in my generation, he's the greatest quarterback that ever played.
Yes.
And he's played 23 years. And there's nothing that you can do that he has not seen. Right, so even with the lack of offensive linemen that he has, which is kind of mirror for the Dallas Cowboys, Tom Brady last year, he threw the most passes in the National Football League and was sacked the least.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, and then when you looked at how guys got the ball out, he was second in the National Football League with getting the ball out in 2.5 seconds. So Micah fast, he ain't that damn fast. So the thing for Tom Brady is he comes in already knowing I don't have much time. Yep. This is a guy who knows how to set it up and how to and knows, hey, Micah's there, then he's probably going to be coming here. Where's my soft spot? And he has no problem saying whether it's Gio Bernard or whether it's Kyle Rudolph or whether who. If you have a Tampa Bay Bucks jersey on and you're an eligible receiver, he will throw the ball to you. Now, what you do with it after that is what you do with it after that. But that is the one advantage I would say where Micah will be losing the experience battle. He has the athleticism, he has the want to, he has the fire, and he'll get home.
He will.
He'll get home at some point in time. But you can't negate a guy who has 7 Super Bowls, who's probably the greatest quarterback of all time, 23 years in the league, who's been behind bad offensive lines before and knows how to get the ball out expeditiously to his receivers in the open field to make plays.
You brought up him getting 5 guys out into the passing lanes. I believe Tampa Bay was one of, if not the number 1 or top 5 offense in guys, 5 different receivers, whether it be tight ends, wide receivers,
right,
pass catching options, out on routes. And it favors a guy like Tom because he'll see right away, oh, this is cover 3, I'm just going to go here.
Right.
Oh, this is cover 2, I'm going to go here. Oh, this is man, I'm going to go here. This has been in the league for 70 years.
And there's always an answer, right? Most guys, there's always an answer. A lot of guys can't get to the answer. Tom Brady's one of the ones who can get to the answer. Now, again, it has to be a 2-part thing. It's Tom Brady knowing and getting to the answer, and then the other guy knowing and getting to the spot, and then making the play. Because there are times when he throws it. I mean, we saw last year, there were screen plays that bounce off Leonard Fournette's head for interception. So there's still a factor in it. Even though he knows it and knows where to go, will the other guys on the other side be able to make the plays in those moments?
And that's the point, right? The other guys. Right? You ever seen the movie The Other Guys? Can and I don't hate to call him an L guy, but Trayvon Diggs, the Anthony Browns, the Jordan Lewises, the LVEs, the Jabril Coxes, the safeties, these guys are going to have to, in my opinion, and was one of my keys to the game on Friday, control the middle of the field.
Yes.
That, whether it be from a defensive line, linebackers, safeties. Tom Brady murdered the Cowboys in the middle of the field last year. Murdered them. He had 116 quarterback rating going across the middle of the field and threw 2 or 3 touchdowns, two to Gronkowski and 1 to Chris Godwin, I think it was, across the middle of the field. If Dallas can make Tom just hold it an extra tick, I'm not saying they got to hold it for 5 seconds, hold it an extra tick, then you can get an Osa to get home. You can get a Micah Parsons to get home. But those other guys, I think, are going to have to step up. And just something that I was thinking about throughout this prep of the game, and you can let me know if this is more easier said than done, is I'm like, hey, get up on these guys. There is no Antonio Brown now that you're scared to get behind. No offense to Godwin and Evans. I'm not really scared of their speed. So why not get physical with them and make Tom Brady not see clean windows, right? Not have this 1, 2, 3, and I can get it off because you're not pressing them. So is that something that in the game plan room you can see being a viable option? Yeah,
it's timing, and you're probably going to roll your eyes at me when I say this, but yeah, it might not be Godwin, it might not be Evans.
Might be Russell Gage.
Julio Jones is still playing football.
In Julio, look at me. It's not even
like
saying Julio's name.
And while he may not be what he once was, he can still work at the line of scrimmage. And now you have to understand of who is he. Is it going to be Bland? Is it going to be Jordan Lewis? Like, who's going to be the number 3 that has to guard Julio in the slot? Right? So there's those moments where is Julio a Hall of Famer or not? I don't know. That's not the argument that we're saying here. I'm saying, yes, you want to get up and you want to pressure these guys, but there's still a guy like Julio Jones who can go and make a play for you. There's still a guy, because if he's your number 3 going up against your number 3, that's a 50-50 matchup right there. So those are the type of things that you have to do. But to go back to your original point, Tom Brady been killing jokes over the middle for 20 years.
20 years.
Right? This isn't a new revolution a revelation of where Tom Brady wants to go with the football. He wants to have the ball right there in the middle of the field. Now, granted, for a large majority of those years, he had number 87.
87 or a slot
Wes Welker or Julian Edelman. And that's, so
Antonio Brown.
Chris
Godwin he is a slot guy now.
He's a slot guy, but Julio can work in some of this. So he's always had, for the most part, either really small and shifty or really big and dominating.
You brought up Julio, and then that's my bad for not even really bringing him up speed-wise. And let me say this and get it out here now, because I think I mentioned in my show this week that, Julio, he doesn't really run as fast as he used to, right? He's older. Well, a report came out, and I didn't know this. Julio Jones this week clocked the fastest time on the team. So I'm like, let me just put that out in the air. All right, Julio, my bad, bro. You still fast. I hear you. I see you. So, yeah, you're right. We're going to have to worry about that deep shot. Because one thing Tom will do, y'all taking away this middle of the field, I'm going to throw it up. And if somebody's behind you or even close to it, he's still a pinpoint precision passer, no matter where he throws the ball. But, like you said, Tom has been doing this for 20, 30 years, right? But the story is old as the Bible. If you pressure Brady, he becomes mortal. If you pressure Brady, Rodgers, Dak, Kurt, you name a quarterback name. They get worse, sir. You pressure any quarterback, especially those who aren't mobile. That is the key with Tom. Tom can't move. I know it sounds crazy, but Dak Prescott, and I don't have the graphic here, Dak Prescott was top 5 in the league as a pressure passer. So we invited it. And what happened last year? Oh, we ain't going to blitz you. We're going to put 7 and 8 and make you have to go through your reads while your offensive line is troubled. Brady's the opposite. When Brady was pressured, he became a bottom 10 quarterback all the way across the board. But that's not new, like you said. This is nothing new. But do you got the dogs? Do you have the horses to do it? And that's to be TBD. I think so, but you got to see it. I'm with you as well. I think they do. I do. I think, of course, Micah Parsons, absolutely, right? You want to see what Dante Fowler Jr. is going to be able to do. You want to see what Sam Williams is going to be able to do. It's going to be super imperative, and the guys to me who are going to have to step up the most is going to have to be your Osas, your Nevilles, and I'm missing one, and Tristan Hill. All those guys, Golston, who are playing in those 1 and those 3 techniques, who are going to be able, that rotation, it's going to be so imperative because, of course, while we talk about Tom Brady, they're going to try to come out and run the football.
I know both quarterbacks last year passed for over 50 times in the football game, but they want to run the football first. They want to soften that defense. Why? Because I want to play action pass.
Yeah.
I want Micah and Barr and LVE to take 1-2 steps up so I can now go behind your head or have that deep over or that tight end running that option route. So they're going to attempt to try to run the football, at least initially, and test the waters of, hey, the Cowboys have struggled stopping the run and the pass. We saw what happened in the playoff game last year. Let's see if it's still as soft as we've known it to be in the past. So they want to get that done because it's a part of their offense. But make no mistake about it, they will abandon the run and have Tom Brady pass for 50 times a game.
They don't really care if they're efficient on the ground. From when I watched the game last year, they didn't run the ball a lot. Only time they ran the ball was just to kind of stay on script.
Yeah.
And this is why I love play action. This may sound stupid, but I believe it to be true. It does not matter if you're successful running the ball. Play action can still work.
Yep.
Because as a linebacker, your first instinct is what you're taught, 101.
Moth to a flame.
You're coming forward.
Moth to a flame.
You know what I mean?
Moth to a flame.
So Tom Brady literally, whatever. They averaged 3.2 yards per carry. Stick the ball in the hand. Micah Parsons, first game ever, he was taking a lot of false steps. Mm-hmm. And what happened? Right behind his ear, 20 yards to Gronkowski. Right behind his ear to Jalen Smith, to somebody else. So all it's going to take is one false step. So those guys behind him definitely have to remain disciplined, even if it's not working. Because Tom will still stick it in somebody's belly just to get you to come up and open up a lane. It'll happen. Hey, real quick, shout out to the 400 people we have between Facebook and YouTube. I call them the Bomb Squad, Jesse. So let me give the Bomb Squad. Drop some flames in the chat if you are enjoying yourselves as we get ready to ratchet up the intensity right over there at AT&T Stadium in less than an hour.
Yep.
Cowboys Bucks Week 1 rematch from last year. I feel good about it. I mean, I got something ready for you here later on. We'll talk about it. I don't know where you're going with it, but I know where I'm going with it. But let's get to the other side of the ball, okay? Let's get to this Cowboys offense.
Mm-hmm.
The game plan, per se. Dak Prescott, CD Lamb, Dalton Schultz, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott. Those are your guys. I call them the core four, but I'm a big wrestling fan, and this is an old school term for you. You know who probably this is. The four horses.
Yeah, of course. Arn Anderson, Ric Flair.
Yeah. Maybe this is the Cowboys' four horsemen, and they just have to ride this horse throughout the season. Now, I get Gallup will be back, but I still believe if you give an offense a Dak Prescott, a Ezekiel Elliott, a Tony Pollard, and a CD Lamb and a Schultz, you should be able to game plan something around that. Do you think, before we get into the X's and O's, do you think that core is enough to remain competitive in this game? Because they're a different core than last year, Jesse. Different core.
It's a totally different core. And
Week 1, I should say, different core from Week 1 last year.
I'll keep it on the same wrestling term as you. And I grew up in an era where you had a good ring manager, when you had your Jimmy Harts, and you had your Paul Bearers, and you had your what's her name, Medullas, and you had a good, you had those guys who would really pump up their fighters and really get it going. For whatever four you want to put in that four horsemen, is their manager, Kellen Moore,
talk to him.
Is the manager going to do what he has to do? Because to just march them out there is not good enough.
No,
it's not. They're not good enough to just be marched out there. They're going to have to be managed well. They're going to have to be not just saying, oh, well, here's the play, so run it. No, let's put Tony Pollard in to have a play that he actually will be successful in. Not just put him out there to say, oh, well, he got snaps. We put him out there. Same thing with Zeke Elliott. Let's not just run the football for running football's sake, right? Let's not just say we're going to commit to this thing because we've heard it. This team goes, Zeke Elliott goes. Let's do it with the level of creativity. Let's do it with the level of purposefulness. And the same thing with a guy like CeeDee Lamb, who is now taking over the reins as wide receiver one, which is a new role for him and a new aspect that he's getting ready to see.
Yeah.
He's going to see more double teams than he's ever seen in his life. And they're going to say, Dak, you're going to have to pick someone else to beat us for the majority of the game.
But that goes to what you said, though. It's about that manager.
Yeah.
It's about that guy pulling the trigger. When I say pulling the trigger, you think the quarterback, but he's part of it too.
Right.
The manager and the guy pulling
It's
the trigger.
the Geppetto. It's the Geppetto, the guy who has the strings and are dancing around with, and trying to make guys get in the right spot. It's going to be solely dependent upon Kellen Moore. Can the string puller, can the guy who is holding the puppet strings get the guys at the four horsemen in the proper place to be successful?
When you brought up CeeDee Lamb being the wide receiver one and seeing double teams and things like that, I thought about the Rams. I thought about how they use Cooper Kupp. And I watched the practices in Oxnard and the practices in Dallas, and we didn't see a preseason game, but we listened to Mike McCarthy, and I truly do believe it may not be exactly like Kupp, but it'll be Kupp-ish, where they're going to try to hide CeeDee Lamb. They're going to try to move him around, and they should, especially tonight, because you don't have Amari Cooper out there. You don't have Michael Gallup out there. It's Noah Brown and Simi Fehoko and Turpin, which I want you to talk about how they should use him too, and Turpin. So it's a different group out there from a receiving standpoint. But Jesse, my thought process on what the Cowboys should do this week is attack the edges. I went back and I looked at what was successful, whether it be on the ground or whether it be through the air. What was successful in this game? It was going at them on the outside. Why? Because Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, Golston, and they replaced Suh with Hicks, who is also a monster and stopping the run. That's not where your bread is likely going to be buttered. Now, does that mean you abandon trying to run in the middle? No. But I think if you're having success on the outside, the quick screens to Gallup and CeeDee Lamb was working. Tight end screens on the edges. Tony Pollard being involved in the passing game and play action or just getting to the outside. In a way, be stubborn but stubbornly creative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Stubbornly creative to attack where I think is their weakness. So that's kind of would be my game plan today, Jesse, is to get your playmakers the ball and get them the ball where they're the weakest at, and I think it's the edges.
Here's my only argument with that, because I agree with you. My only argument is that when you go back and you watch that film last year, the first thing I look at is, okay, get the ball on the edges. Oh, wait. Number 77 is not playing. He's not playing for a while.
He's not.
And
19's not there.
19's
had a
not
monster game, by the way.
So, when you talk about get the ball on the edges, it's all going to be based upon personnel, because they're going to. If I'm Todd Bowles and I'm Larry Foote and that defensive room, there is no doubt in my mind I am going to test every bit of courage on that
100%.
left-hand side
100%.
of the football. So talking about getting an edge, and I know that Tyler Smith, his best attribute is running the football. But it's also, can you maintain that edge?
Yeah.
Can you hold down a Shaq Barrett for 4 quarters trying to get the ball around the edge? It's different when you talk about Tyron Smith being in there. Even Tyron Smith at 70%, what he's able to bring to the table may be a little bit better than Tyler Smith at 100%. So I agree with you on attacking the edges, getting to the outside, because that middle is going to be clogged. But we don't have the players that we did a year ago. For me, I think what the Cowboys should come out and do is go red ball. And you and I talked about this.
Tempo, right?
It has to be tempo. This thing has to be sped up. You have to get these guys on their heels. You have to be able to dictate where the ball is going. Don't let them line up. Don't let them get set. Don't let them have a rotation. You now set the tempo, and early on, hey, if there's a 7-yard gain to be made, throw the ball, make a 7-yard gain. 2nd and 3, right? Speed this thing up and get this thing going. Now you put them on their heels, and now you're able to mix and match this thing any way you want to do it, and you can find them. It's so much harder to begin to locate guys and to double team guys when you're in a hurry up mode, because the defense is saying, hey, let's just get set. Let's get into our cover 2 or our cover 3 or whatever it is. Let's just get set. And now you're able to move CeeDee Lamb around a little bit more, and maybe in a motion, maybe when you switch sides as he's coming back. And now they can't find him as easily as when he breaks the huddle and there's a guy standing in the huddle. When he goes right, he goes right. When he goes left, I'm going left. And now the safeties and all those guys can now match up and go where they want to go. So, yes, attack the edges. but that offensive line is different than it was a year ago. I think you take the Tom Brady approach to us. We're gonna quick game this thing up too. We're gonna tempo this thing up. We're gonna make you move faster than you want to make you move. And now, because Dak Prescott in year 7, you should be able to handle this. You should be able to come to the line of scrimmage and have the answers right there in front of you and deliver the football to the players that need to be delivered the football.
I think you will see tempo. I think you might see it in a multitude of ways. The red ball, the hurry-up style, and you might see it in – I know the Packers used to do this. They get in a huddle, they come to the line of scrimmage, and they go.
Yep.
I think the Rams do it as well. I think you're going to see some things that we didn't see last year. Now, can they consistently do it, and can they stay in front of the sticks? Can they be efficient at it? Because my fear is whatever's working, when it stops, Kellen will kind of tighten up, and now we'll start reverting back to the things that we all kind of like, well, what are we doing here? The defense knows what's going on. But the tempo, attacking the edges, I think those are two things that actually will help your offensive line. Because if you can get these big boys, these big horses moving and tiring them out and not sure what's going on and making them think for an extra second, that's going to help Tyler. That's going to help Connor. If you can, 1, 2, 3, get the ball out on a quick screen, or it's going to Tony Pollard on the edges, that's going to help Tyler. That's going to help Connor. That's going to help the other Tyler. That's going to help everybody up front. If the front seven of the Bucs, which is a very strong front seven, by the way, are not sure what's happening either in front of you. But guess what that all comes back to? Creativity and the manager in the ring pulling the string. So in reality, the Cowboys' game plan this week, and really the season in general,
is our Bobby the Brain Heenan going to show up?
Is he?
Is our mouth of the South Jimmy Hart going to show up?
Is he? This to me, and I said this before to you guys.
Is our Paul Bearer
going to raise that urn?
Come on, Kellen. Right? Are you gonna do it? Come on, bruh.
I said on the show, this year to me is a bigger audition for Kellen and a better audition for Kellen than it was last year. Because I can look at Kellen's offense and say, I mean, yeah, you should have did X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You should have. Now let me see what you can do when you're compromised at certain areas, right? Let me see if you can still be the number one offense, or you can still, come up with a creative game plan, et cetera, et cetera. So this is going to be a big year, not only for the players, the Dak Prescotts of the world, but Kellen Moore, man.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. We already know Mike McCarthy's on the clock, right? We know that he's potentially dead man walking.
Man, I feel so bad for Mike.
Like, we know that he's dead man walking.
Mike McCarthy needs Paul Bear.
At this point, dead man walking. He is the dead man walking, and that's my guy. But it's come to a point, and we see this vicious cycle, and I still don't understand. If I'm a dead man walking, let me go out on my own sword. Let me call a place. Let me go out. Don't let me go out on this kid's calling the plays for me.
I didn't know I'm going to shut up because this happened under Jason. Jason went to them and said, hey, this is my last year in their contract. Can I call the plays? Let me go out my way. He said, no. Kellen will. Can you imagine if we get to this same thing where it's like, hey, we're halfway through the season. This is a little weird. Can I call these plays? Nah, we're going to let Kellen do it. What happened last time? Jason Garrett got fired. Mike McCarthy, he's not on his last year of his deal, but we kind of feel it's a little bit of a lame duck situation if he doesn't have success, right?
Yeah, the only thing that he can do now is make a deep playoff run, and I mean, if I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I don't want to be Paul Bearer today, but
yeah, we give a shout out to Paul Bearer.
Shout out to Paul Bearer. But while we think this team is going to have a decent year, no one's picking this team to go to the Super Bowl.
No, I'm not.
Maybe you are.
No, I already told them. I think the ceiling is NFC Championship game. That's like the ceiling because we ain't been there yet. So we ain't touched that ceiling in 27 years, right? I think the floor needs to be a wild card win. It needs to be. If it is not, you can see you later, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I think they're just
They
staying.
made it harder on themselves. We'll say that.
They always do.
They do.
They always do.
Hey, listen, before we get to the third block of the show, it's time for our game that I threw on Jesse.
Yeah.
And we're going to dub it high-low, which basically is presented by our guys at Underdog Fantasy. Let me bring this up so y'all can see my high-low. Do I got it right there? Yes, I do.
There you
My
go.
high-low picks today. Yo, let me tell y'all about the easiest and most fun way to spice up your football season. It is Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just look for your favorite or least favorite player, his stats, and pick whether you think they'll end up with a higher or lower total than the number in this week's game, and you can win up to 20 times your money. Almost won $500 off of like a $25 slip, or $25 entry. Almost did, but damn Cam Akers. Goddamn Cam Akers, man.
A lot of fantasy owners looking at Cam Akers like, come on, bro.
He killed me, man. But look, Underdog keeps it simple and easy. Just use their website or a mobile app and pick between 2 and 5 players for your pick'em entry and get all your picks right, and you will take home cold, hard cash. It's simple. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com, download the app, use the promo code ATOZ, and they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. That's ATOZ for the Underdog Fantasy promo code. All right, here we go. High-low. Y'all can play with me, too.
All right, let's go.
As you can see him here on the screen. Tom Brady, 35.5 pass attempts, higher or lower tonight?
Ooh, higher.
I went higher as well.
Higher.
I don't think they're going to try to run this thing. I think they're going to let Tom do his thing.
I think they'll try early on, and they won't have much success. And then I think Tom Brady's going to look for that matchup in the secondary and try to exploit it.
Yeah, I think their advantage, I know it's going to sound crazy because our defense was really good in the pass game last year, but their advantage is not going to be to run it with Lenny. Like, Lenny ain't that dude no more.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I think they're going to have to pass it. So I got higher as well. Higher or lower? Dak Prescott, 36.5 pass attempts.
Lower. I think the Cowboys are going to try to come out today, which I don't agree with, but they're going to try to run the football early and often in this game and find themselves doing stupid
You should
stuff.
see his face right now.
Doing stupid stuff, but I think the Cowboys are going to try to become a run-centric football team, and mainly because
I almost have a choice.
you don't have a choice. You don't want a Dak being a sitting duck for guys to be just teeing off on them. And here's the thing, it's not always about a sack. It's about a hit every single time, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't get to him, but they push him down on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, picking yourself up off the ground, that just weighs on you throughout the course of the game. So I'm going to say lower.
I haven't been in the chat. Shout out to the chat. I promise y'all I love y'all. I saw my man Sean say it better be lower. I got lower.
I'm going to go lower.
I got lower because for the same reason. I think they're going to try to get this run game off. I think you'll see a lot of Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. Speaking of Tony Pollard, higher or lower, Tony Pollard, 18.5 receiving yards.
Oh, higher.
Yeah, I got
He'll get that on one play.
This was an easy. Thank you, Underdog. I'm going to hit this dang ticket. I feel good about this entry, man.
He'll get that on one play. It'll be like a screen play or like a bubble play. He'll get that easy.
Are we in agreement, chat? 18.5 receiving yards.
That's easy.
He better.
Yeah, the only way he don't get that unless he hurt.
Right.
He don't get that easy.
And then the final one, if you bet $10, or I shouldn't use the term bet, I apologize. If you place a $10 pick'em entry, you can win up to $100 if you hit all 4 of these. Dalton Schultz, higher or lower 5 receptions.
Oh, you could double that.
Ooh.
Like, he's going to get somewhere like in the 8, 9, 10 area of receptions.
Yeah, he had 6 last year, so I got higher on this one.
Yeah, he had 6 last year with a much better receiving core around him.
Right.
So
Right.
he will finish the year as probably he might get more targets than CeeDee Lamb. He might not have more receptions. He may get more targets than CeeDee Lamb by the end of the year. He's going to be a 90, 95 reception, close to 1,000-yard receiver this year.
I agree. I said on my show before, hey, just get ready for Dalton Schultz to have a ridiculous year and come for the bag next year.
And they're going to franchise him again.
Yeah, it might not mean because Dalton Schultz is a number 1, 2, 3 tight end. It's just production is not always about your skill.
He's going to be the guy right there in Dak's face. Here, take it.
And I got higher. I'm right there with you. I think Dalton Schultz. Don't sleep on Jake Ferguson, too. I think, but the tight ends are going to be involved in this game from a 12 personnel standpoint. They ran 12 personnel 37% of the time last year against this team, and I think they're going to come out and try to protect their tackles with the same exact situation. So that was higher or lower presented by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you use that promo code ATOZ. Let me tell you, it's so easy, it's so fun, and I promise you, you have a chance to win a ton of money. fact, after we done, I'm going to go ahead and come. That was just the A to Z ticket. I got another ticket out there. Need to put in, man. Try and get this bread. All right, look. We're almost close to prediction time. We're almost close to one of my favorite segments of the show that we used to do, Mouse in the House. But let's get to a couple key matchups. I want to know your, and it's hard because a lot of matchups matter in this game, but your kind of biggest matchup going into this thing. I got mines. I think I do. I put a bunch here, and I'm still kind of mulling over it. But what do you think is the most important matchup today?
The low-hanging fruit, of course, is Micah Tom. True. That matchup is the low-hanging fruit.
I don't even include that, right? Because that,
to me, that's the low-hanging fruit. But my key matchup today, you ready for this one? Mm-hmm. It's Kellen Moore versus Kellen Moore.
Ooh, I like that.
It's literally Kellen Moore versus Kellen Moore. Because you know exactly what this football team is offensively. You know. I think Dan Quinn is going to put together a marvelous. And remember, nobody knows Tom Brady better than Dan Quinn. Despite what happened in the second half, and that wasn't kind of all his fault, in the Super Bowl in Atlanta, Dan Quinn put together a really good plan to stop Tom Brady in the Super Bowl when he was with Atlanta.
And in Seattle.
And Seattle.
They should have won back-to-back Super Bowls. That wasn't Dan Quinn's fault.
Correct. So, he kind of has a really good bead. And I got a chance to hear Richard Sherman talk about Dan Quinn and talk about stuff like that. And he would say, the thing about DQ is going to write up a plan. He's going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. He's going to put you in the perfect position to be there. You have to go and make the play. He said that's the special, unique part about Dan Quinn. He understands his personnel, who he's going up against, and he's going to put you in the perfect position. Now, if you do something other than what he said do, then that's on you. But when that opportunity comes, you have to be ready for the moment to go and do it. But it's going to be Kellen Moore versus Kellen Moore. And he's going to have to put together, and it doesn't have to be this.
It doesn't have to be this crazy creative game.
Listen, you're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
You're not. But there's enough footage from across the National Football League. We always hear about this is a copycat league.
Yeah.
There's enough footage. If you just sit down, take your ego off, sit it in the chair next to you and say, I need to find ways and plays to get better. Let me look across the league and say, oh, wow, there's Cooper Kupp. How did they get him open? Okay, let me go to the next league. Oh, wow, look, there's Travis Kelce. What are they doing to get him open? Okay, great. Oh, wow, look, there is, name the running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Okay, there are a multitude of places. Hell, you could even go to college football and say, let me look at some of these creative plays that Lane Kiffin calls or Steve Sarkisian calls or whoever it may be and say, let me put these in my bag. Let me shake these things up and bring some new creative ways to get the football to my best players in a position for them to be successful. So to me, it's Kellen Moore versus Kellen Moore.
That's a hell of a good one, and I don't have nothing as great as that. Mine is pretty simple. I've got the interior of their line, and I didn't have one person. Mm-hmm. I put Osa, Bo, Chauncey, those guys, versus Godeke, the rookie left guard, and their new center that they have. I feel like, I said this at the top of the show, controlling the middle of the field is going to be paramount for the Cowboys to get a victory. But it starts in the trenches. If you're getting quick pressure on Tom Brady, or if you're pushing him to D-Law, or pushing him to Sam Williams, or the guy who sacked Tom Brady the most over the last few years, Dante Fowler, or Micah Parsons, you can maybe include him in that interior. But if you can get the pressure with Osa Odighizuwa, Bo Hanna, right, who Micah talks highly about, Neville Gallimore, Chauncey Golston, without sending Micah Parsons, then you, I think, can come away with this victory. Because I don't really see these guys running that well, so it's going to fall on Tom Brady's shoulders. The problem is, he got big, broad shoulders. It's fell on his shoulders for the last, 15 years of his career? So he's fine enough with carrying his team. So to me, that's the key matchup, the interior of their offensive line versus the interior of the Cowboys' defensive line. All right, as we get ready to wrap this show up, my favorite part, man, it's time. Mouse in the house. If you're new to this, you need to be true to this. We have a NCAA champion basketball champion here.
That's so rude.
Okay? No,
Like, think about it, bro.
no.
Like, in 3 years, it'll be the 20-year anniversary.
Okay, that makes me feel old, too. All right?
In 3 years, it's going to be the 20-year anniversary of winning a national championship.
That makes me feel old, man.
You feel old. I played in it.
He played in it. So
Sheesh.
so he's a national basketball champion, and you know Sean May. Shout out to Sean May. He had a few mouses in the house.
Yes.
And what that means for those who don't know, he can't guard him, or it was a pick, and now you got me in the post on Jesse. So you're gonna throw the ball in, mouse in the house. So we made this a thing here. Who is the mouse in the house for the Cowboys against the Bucs, or the offense defense, or for the Cowboys defense against the Bucs offense, whatever it may be? Have you had a chance to think about who the Cowboys should attack deliberately, position group, whatever you want?
I don't know if it's a mouse in the house, but it's a mouse in the matchup. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? Mouse in the house. Mike Evans versus Trayvon Diggs.
Huh.
Trayvon Diggs, Mike Evans, who is a perennial 1,000-yard receiver every single year, 8 straight years in a row, had 3 receptions for 24 yards last year. Trayvon Diggs had a pick, and I think he had 1 reception on him in that football game last year. So while we give Mike Evans a ton of credit, I think that Diggs dominates that matchup. I think Diggs, the thing that gives Mike Evans for a lot of the times the advantage is his athleticism with that size. And for Trayvon Diggs, who is a former receiver, who has size and ability, and again, is opportunistic, he plays up under Mike Evans really, really, really well.
Does.
So it may not seem like it's a mouse in the house, but Trayvon Diggs dominates. Give
Big
it to
guys.
me in the paint.
Basically,
Against big receivers.
What you're saying is you want Trayvon Diggs to pull the chair. You want to
Yeah.
say, come on to him. Boom,
Pick.
All right, real quick, my mouse in the house is also an X factor.
Ooh.
I just hope that we're able to see it. You got me excited about, we're watching these games today, y'all. We just kept talking about over routes and over routes, over routes. Kevontae Turpin against whoever the hell is in there guarding him in the slot. I don't care if he ain't never played wide receiver in the NFL. Guess what he got? Killer speed. And you said this last year. This ain't even new. But that damn over route is hard to defend. We saw Jordan Lewis get toasted by a 39-year-old Deshaun Jackson last year. He ain't 39, y'all. But
He
because
did
of his
39.
speed, right?
Right.
So Kevontae Turpin against that slot guy. I understand he's an X factor in the return game.
Yes.
But I would love to see him get involved, because if I forget his name, Murphy Bunting is still their slot corner. I don't know. We'll see. Then that is definitely the mouse in the house. And either you take the top off with Turpin, or send him on those over routes and let his speed just outrun everybody and see if he can get a big play.
I agree with you 100%. And again, it goes back to what I was saying about Kellen Moore. If you watch football today, all of your Chase, your Jamar Chase, and your Tyreek Hills, and any receiver who has a level of speed to him, and even those who don't, are running the deep over. They're running up, and they're just saying, okay, about 10 yards, I'm just going to start running to the sideline. I'm going to have another guy take the top off, and now it's just a quarterback being able to deliver the ball into a spot where they can catch it. Yep. And with Kevontae Turpin, when he lines up, when he comes on the field, everybody's going to scream, reverse, jet sweep. But they all know when he's on the field what he's coming with, and that's a boatload of speed. So we should try that pass play at some point in time with him, with CeeDee Lamb, at least 4 or 5 times in this football game for big plays to happen.
Got to. All right, prediction time, Cowboys Nation. Drop your scores in the chat. Jesse, Holley, who do you got today, or tonight, I should say?
Yeah, man, week 1 of the season, I love this matchup. I'm super excited about this defense. This defense will carry this football team this year. I'm giddy, and I'm excited about Micah Parsons. The only problem is you're going up against a wizard. You're going up against a magician. I think offensively this team has a little bit too many deficiencies. I still think that they believe that they might try to win this game offensively, which is a dumb concept. And I got a close one, but I got Tampa Bay 24, Cowboys 17.
24-17. He is a wizard. No doubt about that. But let me just tell you something, man.
Yes.
See, last year, I took these bad boys off. I did. I put them on. and then I pump faked everybody, and I took them off. But these are staying tight.
Ooh.
Because,
okay.
yeah, he's a wizard, but we don't believe in that witchcraft around here.
Oh.
This is the Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
Y'all got a wizard? We got a Micah.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Micah Parsons in this defense tonight come out and make a statement to the league. You watch Game of Thrones?
No.
Okay, you need to watch it. There's a guy on Game of Thrones, and he was going to go up and fight he wasn't even going to fight. He was messing with the queen, and then the older guy loved the queen, but he couldn't do what he wanted to do with her. And they got in a little confrontation. He was like, the young guy, I don't want to fight you. And he was, why not? Well, because if I do, I'm the man that beat the old guy. And if I lose, I'm the man that lost to the old guy.
Right.
So there's no win tonight for real for the Cowboys, except for in the win column. Because the excuses are going to come, Jesse. They're going to come. Cowboys are going to get this victory 23-20 on the back of a dominant defensive performance by the Blair Witch Project himself, Micah Parsons.
And the Cowboys need this victory because the Commanders, the Giants, and the Eagles all won today. You don't want to go into week 2 being last in the NFC East.
Can you
so
imagine, man?
that even makes it this even more of a must-win early in the season for the Dallas Cowboys.
It is a must-win. All right, man, that is our time. Kickoff is in a few minutes. This has been the first episode of the pregame show, Game Day Live. My big
back
homie.
like we never left, man.
Back and better than ever.
That's just so smooth, man. It's like a finger roll. It's just so smooth.
I'm posting him up here, man.
Moisture.
I'm so confident I might say, throw it in, coach.
See?
All right, look.
Then when I put it on the backboard, he can be like, my fault. My bad, coach. Nah, you right. The coach will be like, nah. Will, I got you. Come sit down. What were you thinking? Why would you go down there?
I made a 3, and I thought. Make sure y'all come on back, man. Halftime show. We'll be talking. Hopefully, we're in a good spirit at halftime. I'll see y'all. That is it for Jesse Holley. I'm Skywalker Still. This is A to Z Sports Game Day Live. Peace.
I'm in my zone, on the road to the Super Bowl. Every game on the schedule crucial, it take a toll. It don't matter if we at home or on the road. You try to tackle, I'll truck a sucker and take it soul. I'm staring at 4th and goal, gotta find an open hole. A linebacker just close a hole where I'm supposed to go. So now I'm thinking my centers are all pro, so I trust he can make a wall for wherever the ball go. Yeah, there's 5 seconds on the play clock. The crowd was loud, but they stopped. Now it's silent while they watch. They stand off in the red zone. All I see is red home. Watch me get this touchdown and this W and head home.